Being connected has now become more important than it's ever been before. Online communities have been gathering and sharing enjoyment and stories within them for decades now, and the people who join and engage with these communities are so diverse. We have different cultures, backgrounds, and ideas all coming together for one game or hobby. Even between the few contributors we have in this documentary, we hear so many stories of friendship, mental health, and real life experiences that we can all relate to and learn a lot from. Our first story is from Mary Felicia. She's an online professor who started playing role playing games when she was a teenager.
My name is Maria Felicia. I'm Italian. I live in Pisa. And I am a translator actually. And an Italian professor online. So my whole time is spent on the computer. I started with online communities when I was about 19, and I started with forum talking about Tolkien and his books, and then I got into role play games by chat.
How have your friendships developed from these first meetings that you had on the forum?
As I said, with some people I'm still friends today. We have a beautiful friendship. I know their families and so on. So it was really positive. And also, some of those communities helped me to overcome post-traumatic stress. I'm a survivor from the earthquake of 2009 that destroyed my hometown, L'Aquila, in the center of Italy. After the earthquake, I had a problem with my speech. I was in shock, and they helped me a lot. And they helped me overcome those fears. I remember staying up during the night playing with my friends and with strangers just to have a safe place to go when my home wasn't safe anymore.
Did it help to talk about what had happened to your home?
I think it can help other people overcome similar tragedies. And I think it's important to keep up hope that you can find the people to help you, and that human interaction is something that can help you cope with everything. If we have each other, we can go through the worst time in our history. And it's important to have that human contact, human feelings. That's what most important for all of us in all our lives.
Our next contributor is Victoria, who has struggled with social anxiety and has used online communities to help her cope.
I first started getting into online communities because I had an older friend that was a police officer, and she was heavily into gaming. So, and I had really bad anxiety, so she suggested that I go to online communities while I'm gaming. And that's just where it started, and it felt comfortable there instead of, having the anxiety and meeting people outside of online communities.
Barney's a student who's been trying to distinguish his online persona from himself.
It's only negatively affected me when people try to sort of show off their real life selves within that community. And then I just feel like, and as a consequence, I just feel bad about myself.
Do you ever feel negatively affected by your online persona?
I think in terms of my online persona, if I'm only negatively affected if the sort of online persona starts to affect my real life self. And it hasn't done that so far. Right now, I've had my online persona and my real life persona, and they've been two relatively different things, and nothing sort of outbalanced the other. Like sometimes I might be too into my online persona, then in real life, like I don't want to eat, or I don't want to do anything, or like I don't want to do work. But that was like more in the past, whereas now I have a sort of concrete online persona, real life persona, and usually the negatives is when my online persona or when I'm in when I'm in these communities start to sort of affect my real life persona. That seems really abstract the way I've just explained it there, but I've tried to, do it, I guess.
Arceus has been using online communities to explore a part of themselves that they've been choosing to hide in real life.
I feel like eventually I will come out or whatever to to the people that I do know. But I think with online communities that are catered to LGBTQ community, I can get that confidence in being expressing myself that way, and just exploring that avenue of my personality before saying it to others that would know me and would judge me for it. So I don't feel too bad, I don't feel negative about having to leave that online for the meantime, but it's more so helping me garner that courage and that finding who I am before having to commit to that by saying it to people who already know me.
Overall, what do you think about communities, and do you think they've helped you at all?
Overall, it's been the community itself. I mean, there's obviously a lot of people who will support you because that's they've gone through similar things, but it's just that the community is very supportive of what you're trying to do or what you're trying to figure out. So I guess just having that support system is good when in real life you're not even sure how things would turn out if you opened up about it.
Marina has an interest in psychology and loves to spend time in communities to find out about how people work and any new things she can find within the community itself.
A lot of people that can't fit. So the people that are almost innovative, or they don't really submit to what society is trying to feed them. They are the loners, they are the ones that are a little more reserved. They are not very social. They are, I wouldn't say social awkward, but they don't have the freedom of expressing too much. So they come to a community, online community, because it is safer. They are not seen. It's a protected space. A lot of kids that I've noticed, they had problems with bullying in school. So if that's the image of their physical form in there, they have to face that. Whenever they come to a group where they don't need to be facing people, they face avatars. Let's say your little icon, your name will represent you. It's a lot safer for them.
Are there any standout moments for you?
Whenever I'm having a stressful day, I know that I can go to the community. It's the little group that we are all supportive with each other, and we can just talk and be open, and it's a secure and safe environment that we can all share little pieces of our lives with whichever comfort level that we have. But it's been a really good experience.
Our next story comes from Victor, who's been around online communities pretty much since childhood.
I grew up in a small town in Kansas. Mom nicknamed it the Buckle of the Bible Belt. Even growing up, I was very weird. I was bullied badly for it. Because I liked sci-fi and fantasy, and because my parents let me explore a lot of educational topics, and we'd end up watching. Me and my family would watch History Channel together more than we would watch cartoons, just because we genuinely wanted to watch it. I didn't fit in. I only have really probably a friend and a half, basically, from where I grew up that I'm still friends with today. I mainly talk to one of my friends, and then that friend is roommates with our other mutual friend. So there's that. But the online friendships that I've made have allowed me to communicate with people and explore interests that I've had for a very long time
Have you found any likes during your time with online communities?
without having the small town mindset kind of, you have to conform, you have to fit in because this is where you live. While on the internet, you don't have to. You can find the place that fits you rather than fitting yourself to the place. I probably would be nowhere near as mentally healthy, and I could dare even say I'd probably be homeless or dead without some of the friends I've made on the internet. So it's definitely been a huge positive to me. There are drawbacks, but I mean there's drawbacks to everything. If it wasn't for the internet, I wouldn't be as well, how would I put it? I wouldn't be as well balanced and like secure in who I am because I was allowed to explore who I was without the pressure to fit in. Growing up, it was basically me and my two friends that we'd be able to really hang out and talk and all that. But even with them, it didn't really cover everything that I have interests in. And I go into some weird niche stuff. Probably the CIA or FBI would be weirded out by my YouTube search history.
After hearing from everyone, I wanted to delve deeper into their personal experiences that they've had during their time online. Many members of the community have dealt with segregation, toxicity, and even bullying at the hands of other people, and it's something that really needs to be talked about. Do you have an experience that stands out to you during your time online?
The worst experience probably was when a woman much older than myself, she was the webmaster of the first game I played online, the one I was talking to you about, Celtic. And she was a webmaster. I initially thought she was just being nice because I was the peacemaker. And, in the roleplay online, people bicker and have fights just the same as in real life. Because you are acting a part, but some people take that too far. They take the game too much at heart and fights and sure. So I was always the peacemaker, always the one, okay, let's talk about it. That was just what I did. And I thought that she was being nice because I was helping her game to have a nice atmosphere. Then she started using phrases that sent off alarms bell in my head. I discovered she lost a daughter in infancy, and she was like projecting her motherly yearnings onto me. And I had to stop that. She didn't like it, and she became very unpleasant, not towards me, but towards my friends. So I decided, okay, I'm out of here. I left the game because that was so unhealthy for me and for my friends that I couldn't allow for that. It's not worth it. It's just a game. So to close all contact, I left the game. That was the worst that happened to me online.
You mentioned that you had a friend who lived far away. Has distance ever been a problem for you?
With my friend that I met a few years back, I was living all the way in California and she was on the other side of the states in Florida, and she was going through some difficulties, and sometimes you really want to be there for them, but there's a limit to what you can do at a distance to help someone. So it's frustrating at times because you don't have the means to travel to them, but I think just from personal experience, it's helpful just for someone to be there, whether it's through a distance or right next to you.
Do you have an example of a negative situation that you've been involved in?
My mate came over to me and he was in like a fucking state, and whenever he feels bad, he likes to talk to me. Although recently he hasn't talked to me much because he's found someone else that he's talking to at the moment. So he's happy at the moment. So when he talks to me, he usually talks to me about, reasons why he's happy, but like mostly he talks to me like because he wants me to console him, I guess, in a way. I think that's a particular standout because there's a couple of times where he's come over to me like, yo, like I'm feeling super suicidal at the moment, like I want to kill myself, and I'm just like, bro, you can't do that, you have to like keep going. There's no like point to life if you just kill yourself, and like stuff like this, and then he gets a boost of confidence, and then he can go about his day. But now obviously since he's found someone else, he's talking to someone else, he's happy a lot more, so he doesn't need to sort of in a way talk to me, I guess.
How have you found communities to be overall?
There's a lot of really toxic communities online, and so those are the ones that people see a lot because they're like really inflammatory, and so that might deter some people from being part of online communities since they just see the really bad side.
When you see negativity within the community, do you let that affect you in any way?
I'm really good with psychology. I'm really good with understanding people's minds, so I don't let it affect me. But it also comes with experience in life, which we see the younger players in communities being affected more negatively and in a toxic way because they don't have so much of a life experience, because they are going towards trying to fit, and they see a lot of anger and mean people bringing them down when they are trying to find comfort in a group.
Do you have any positive moments that you could share?
So in one of the many years ago, I used to play a little computer game that was called Maple and Maple Story. And we were in the guild, so I got to be close to a few of the people, and some of them I still talk to. One of them, he disappeared out of the internet for 5 years, and all of a sudden he sent me a message and he's like, how are you doing? It's been such a long time. And we talk like we were just talking the other day.
What would you say your main reason is for using online communities?
What do I find to be interesting? What do I find to be important about myself? What non-essential skills do I want to explore? So stuff like the creative arts or research into subjects that have no bearing on your day-to-day life. For me, that's mostly history. But for other people, that can be bird watching or botany or whatever. And so being given this resource to connect with people who are interested in the same things I am, and either they can show me the ropes and show me things I haven't seen, or I can make friends and show them stuff they hadn't thought about, is kind of one of the most important things for me, in all honesty. That's really the heart and soul of why I love my online communities. It also helps that with how many times I've had to move in recent years, I don't feel like I'm moving away from friends, because my friends are all on the internet. All I have to do is get Wi-Fi or cell phone data, and I'm talking to them again. I'm not moving away from home, if you will.
Communities can help bring people together online, but for some people, these friendships can stand even in the real world. Have you ever met up with anyone that you've met online?
When I was younger, I met with the original people in the forum I started with several times. We are still friends today. We are kind of a tagged group. It's a long time. We kind of grew up together, and now some of them have children. I know their children, I know their spouse. It's nice. It's very nice. Nowadays, that I'm older, it's not that different. Maybe because we have been friends for such a long time, there is no more the boundaries of the screen.
Do you think that online communities have helped your real life interactions in any way?
it's helped in a good way because I used to be really shy and it was hard for me to speak up for myself. And I did not want to go anywhere. So going to the convention and just seeing people who weren't afraid to be themselves helped me to be more open in real life and just to open myself to other people. So I have better relationships now.
What were your struggles in your real life?
With anxiety, well, I used to get like massive anxiety attacks just going to grocery stores. And it was really weird and embarrassing for my friends. So I had to find some way to cope with it, and that's pretty much how I would cope was through gaming and online communities. And just the amount of encouragement they gave to just keep trying and go and try new things, it just really helped me out. And now I don't have anxiety. Well, I haven't had an anxiety attack for a while now, like years. But I'm still involved in online communities. Like, even if I don't comment much, like, I still go and read and especially with the gaming. So it's still a big part of my life now, even with kids.
Have you had any real life experiences with online friends before?
Back when I used to play on the Xbox, because I am only recently sort of a PC person, I used to have a friend who lived in was it Birmingham or Leicester? I think it was Birmingham. And we liked the same music, and we were going to a festival in Derby. It's a pretty big festival. It's called Download, and we were both going to go. And we were like, "Oh, you want to meet up when we're there and like see some bands together?" So we met up, and we were just like, yeah. So we like spent like one day just like hanging out with each other and enjoying some music. And we played Smite, which was sort of a MOBA game, like League of Legends or Dota. And yeah, that I met up with him in real life. I think a lot of my other online communities there, so I have a lot of online mates who are in Korea, America, Japan, other parts of Europe, so I can't really see them as easily. So I've only really seen the people who are from England, I guess, or from like down south where I'm from.
Do you have any real life interactions that are affected by the way that you interact in online communities?
In real life, a lot of my interactions are in my job. So in my job, I need to be a little more professional. So it almost builds a behavior pattern of acting that way. In this new job, I do have a lot of friends who like Japanese animation and games, which I'm a little more open to talk. But then whenever I am in a community, I can just be myself and be free because I don't have to be in the restrictions of the social rules. So for me, in my case, that's how it applies with a major difference. And even, for example, there are some people on my job, managers, whenever they hear me talking to another person, they would look at me and say, "Oh my goodness, you are a gamer? I would never have guessed." And I'm like, yes, I know. I'm very quiet and I keep things very, very privately, but yes, I'm a very private gamer. Yes.
Have you had an important online friendship that's evolved into something into real life?
Well, first one is the most obvious one. I'm currently in a long distance relationship with a guy in Massachusetts. I currently live in Minnesota, who I met through online gaming group, and I've known him since 2012, and we're going on this November will be so about 3.5 years or so we've been together. The biggest thing to getting it to work is both of us understanding that while we care about each other quite a bit, we have lives outside of the internet. So that's one of the big parts, is especially once you get past, teenage internet relationships, it's recognizing that you don't have all day to spend on the internet, even in the age of the smartphone. Through the time period that I've known him, I've come to discover that I'm transgender, and so he's known me through the entire process and has been supportive of me dealing with just all kinds of mental health problems. He's been a friend to me, and even just silly stuff. We care for each other, we have similar interests, and then both of us being old enough and mature enough to be able to look at each other and be like, yeah, real life has to come first, especially because we're not even in the same state. If we lived closer, there might be a different change to that, a change in priorities and focus, but with the distance we have, we kind of just make the acknowledgement of what real life requires.
Overall, what we can take away from this diverse group of people is that online communities are complicated, and to be able to understand what goes on inside them, really, you have to be an active part of them. The people who populate these communities have their own stories to tell, and as more people start to use the internet to connect to each other, they will share experiences that will ultimately last a lifetime. The documentary would not have been possible without the lovely contributors you've heard today, so I have to say a big thank you to them. Thank you to Mary Felicia, Victoria, Barney, Victor, Asphius, and Marina. If you'd like to hear from more people in the future and maybe have more content like this, please let me know, and I'd love to be able to make that happen. Thank you all so much for joining me on this journey, and I hope you enjoyed hearing these fascinating stories. There are so many more out there, so let's work together to get to know each other better.